Thank you very much, Mr. Sorkumar, dignitaries present, and in his absence, the Minister of Power. This host doesn't allow me to use my notes, and actually I thought it wouldn't actually be very useful to use my notes, because all of you know much more about lighting and LEDs than I do. So I thought it might be more useful if I explain to you why I think the topic of efficient lighting is important for India's very future, why we at the World Bank support it, and highlight some of the challenges that I see as a consumer. Challenges that can be easily overcome but has to be thought about. So India is on the eve of a 30-year spurt of growth driven by urbanization and driven by India's democratic dividends. I'm firmly convinced that this is the case. It is exactly at the same point as China was when it realized that, actually a little bit ahead in terms of development, but in terms of per capita income at the same point. It's the same point as Brazil was, and before it, Europe and the United States. And this will lift almost everybody in India who is in poverty out of poverty, which is great. There's only one issue, which is that if India grew at 8 to 10%, which is what typically happens in that kind of growth burst, and that's actually the growth that India is about to achieve again after a very good decade and then some uncertainty. The resources required to drive that growth are absolutely stupendous, as we've all have seen in China. It's an incredible challenge to feed the hunger of that growth. And there's three resources that are the most problematic. The first is air, as all of us living in Delhi know. I'm taking them in reverse order that I take them normally. The second is water, where India has particular challenges. And the third is energy, where India has particular challenges, not so much in terms of availability of energy, but in terms of the mix of energy available and what that will do if the mix stays the same. And actually all these things are well recognized on the energy front, and the government has policies to promote renewable energy and shift the energy mix. But the greatest opportunity of shifting the energy mix is to use less energy to achieve the same result. It is commonly known as the fifth fuel. I'll not make the mistake of trying to list the first four, because I'll probably end up not knowing what the fourth is after I've listed three. Energy efficiency is the fifth fuel. There's tremendous opportunities because, as we all know, India is only at the very beginning of awareness on energy efficiency. More in the corporate sector, the awareness, than in the consumer sector. India is actually at the beginning of the process of urbanization, and half of the buildings that will be there in 2030 in India haven't even been built today. And India therefore has a tremendous opportunity to become more efficient. The issue that is important to understand that India actually doesn't have a choice. Because if it doesn't learn to grow more efficiently, it can't actually grow for 30 years and achieve its destiny, which is to lift its people out of poverty. And lighting alone is responsible for 20% of energy use. And lighting is probably, but you know that better than me, the area of energy use where the technological advances have been the most spectacular. So the savings can be tremendous. So you all will be discussing how you will use this wonderful technology either to sell your products or to get better outcomes for the public. And I think that's absolutely the right thing to discuss, and that's why at the World Bank we've worked with the government of India and BSL to create a risk-sharing facility to promote you in innovating and working together to drive down the price and still make profit, because we do want you to make profit, those of you in the private sector. If you don't make profit, you won't actually do business and the outcome will not be achieved. My biggest worry on that facility is actually that it is entirely possible that the technology will advance so quickly that the facility will become irrelevant before it's used. That's a risk that we had when we worked with BEE on the efficiency of ceiling fans, where we wanted to help make the ceiling fans efficient, but they actually became efficient more rapidly than we could move the bureaucracy to put the facility in place. So I have to be really modest about our contribution. Now, a few challenges from my perspective that I would really hope you would think about. So first about the dynamics of getting consumers to use different light bulbs. I own a house back home, and in 2001 I needed an outdoor light, and I found something that I wasn't very familiar with. It was a CFL, of course, beautiful bulb, and I put it on an outdoor light. And it's no longer very efficient compared to the alternative, but it's still working. So I never know what to do. Do I replace it? I know there's issues on recycling and go to the newest technology, or do I just leave them? I subsequently bought dozens and dozens of CFLs, and I don't know what to do with them, but it prevents me from adopting the newest technology. I don't know how big of a problem it is, but I never hear anybody talk about it. So my CFLs are just there, and unfortunately, I'm discovering that a 5 or 7 year warranty is not required because they work much, much longer if you buy the right quality. So that could actually be a problem in terms of shifting to the new technology. Of course, we have to think of the cost of recycling early because CFLs are not very benign in terms of some of their content, as I understand. So that's one issue. But that's a minor one. I actually had a light bulb go off in Delhi not so long ago, and I thought, this is my opportunity. I can replace this light bulb and buy my first LED in India. So I live not so far from here, and so I went to Khan Market, which is where most Ferrangis go when they need to buy things. And there's a little hole-in-the-wall electrician. Those of you who live in the neighborhood will know it, and I went there to buy a light bulb. So as was just in the ad, there's light bulbs that fit into old fittings so that you can buy a new light bulb in the old fitting, and I was absolutely decided I was going to buy it. So I come to the little man there, very nice old man, and I say, can I please have an LED that fits in here? And he looks at me with bewilderment and says, sir, LED bahut महंगे hai. And he gives me this lamp that costs, I don't know, 20 rupees, old technology. And in a moment of weakness, I lose my focus and I buy the cheap lamp. Me, the country director for the World Bank, who puts in place a partial risk guarantee facility to promote the use of LEDs. It only took him one sentence to talk me out of buying the LED. Imagine how many millions of moments happen in India every year that are business opportunities for you, if you find a way to get this man to say something different, and are lost opportunities for India in terms of saving energy. It is not actually, it's a funny anecdote, but it's not a small thing. Because if he talks me out of it, how in the world is somebody with far less knowledge going to be convinced to invest in that technology? And not everything can be done based on government subsidies. Government subsidies are great, but they are limited by the amount of money that government has. So I really think both on, do consumers actually have to upgrade? What's the right advice and how do you tell them about it? And in terms of how do you actually convince consumers to invest in the technology, in the right technology, are very important questions from a public policy perspective, but also for you. Because whoever was going to sell me that LED, which by the way in this case, judging by the poster on the wall, was Philips, not Osram, which as a Dutch person made me very happy, but I didn't buy it. Whoever was going to sell it lost a business opportunity, and your conference is about the business of lighting. So I just thought I'd share this anecdote with you. I think there's a tremendous opportunity in finding ways to really sensitize India about the fact that energy efficiency is great, it is necessary for India. It's also very much in keeping with India's tradition of frugal engineering. India is the country that prides itself to bringing a satellite to Mars for $75 million, which is more than 10 times cheaper than the next country, and the next country actually failed on its first attempt. India is a country where people are very proud to be doing more with less. So it shouldn't be difficult to convince Indians to adopt energy efficient technology, but convincing people to make upfront investments in a country that is still relatively poor for most people is a challenge. So I would hope that you will talk about that. It will create tremendous business opportunities, and it will allow India to grow and lift its people out of poverty. Thank you very much.